بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير صدق الله العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah, we are now in the second Jum'ah in this holy and blessed month. And in the beginning of this month, I talked about the purpose of fasting, which is very clearly defined in the holy verse in the Quran, Surah Baqarah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And this is the main reason why we fast, because Allah orders us and to attain a particular level or a particular goal. And the goal I mentioned before is taqwa. And this taqwa is so important, it is so important in the Holy Quran that is mentioned over 200 times in the Quran in different forms. And in another part of the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He asks the believers وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى, that help each other in taqwa, यानी कि एक दूसरे की मदद करो नेकी और परहेजगारी में. So help each other in taqwa and in goodness. And وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ, and do not help each other in transgressing the barriers and performing bad actions. So why is it that this particular word or this particular topic or this particular theme is constant in the Holy Quran? So much it is mentioned again and again and again. Now, there are definitions of taqwa, but in terms of practicality, what is it? So today we'll just give some practical examples of what taqwa really is and how it's lived. Because taqwa is something that is lived. It is not, it's not like on Jummah that you put your your shawl on, yeah. So we put our shawl on, we put our jubbas on, we put our imamas and atar and all this, and then that's what taqwa is. No. Taqwa is something much, much deeper than that. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it's a very beautiful narration, it's an amazing narration, and all narrations are amazing, but this is just absolutely wonderful. In terms of, this encapsulates the relationship that you have with your fellow Muslim brothers. Okay, it's a very long narration. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تحاسدوا ولا تناجشوا ولا تباغضوا ولا تدابروا ولا يبع بعضكم على بيع بعض وكونوا عباد الله إخوانا المسلم أخو المسلم لا يظلمه ولا يحظله ولا يكذبه ولا يحقره التقوى ها هنا. The Prophet ﷺ in this narration, beautiful narration, and he goes on further. He said, do not envy one another. Do not inflate prices for one another. Meaning that, charge people more than what is due. Do not hate each other and do not turn away from one another. slaves of Allah as brothers, be brothers. And a Muslim is a brother of a Muslim. He does not oppress him, he does not fail him, does not lie to him, and he does not hold him in contempt. Meaning he doesn't look down on him. And then the Prophet said, Taqwa hahuna. And he pointed towards his chest 3 times. A piety is here. Piety is here. Piety is here. In here. Not out here. Yeah, not out there. Not in front of people. Piety is a condition of the heart. Taqwa is a condition of the heart. Imam Qushayri rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, they is famous, one of the first writers, or one of the first Sufis to actually write down a treatise or like a book on tasawwuf, on Sufism, what Sufism is really, what does it mean. And once we read this particular book, we kind of, we find out we can, in reality, there's a lot of people who claim to be Sufis or sheikhs, but when you put those individuals against this great work of Imam Qushayri, then very few people will actually live up to that standard that Imam Qushayri sets up. So people who we might consider to be sheikhs or peers or kutubs or abdals, whatever we think they are, in the modern age, if we put them up against what Imam Qushayri is saying, then very few people measure up. So when they talk about taqwa, Imam Qushayri talks about taqwa and said taqwa is one of the first principles, the foundations of this particular path. If you're going to be walking upon the path of tasawwuf, then taqwa is one of the foundations. And the way he defines it, it's a very beautiful definition. Is being patient with what you have lost. So, to go through it again. So piety, taqwa, is being happy with what Allah has not given you. Yeah? And being satisfied with what Allah has given you. So being satisfied with your condition. And being patient with what you have lost. इमाम कुशैरी फरमाने ने कि तकवे ने जड़ी तारीफ है ना, क्या मतलब है इसना? आप फरमाने ने कि बंदा जरा तकवा उसकी आखने कि तुसा जड़ी जिस चीज तो अल्लाह पाक तुसा की महरूम किता ना, उस पर तो राजी हो जाओ कि अल्लाह पाक तो राजी हो जाओ कि मैं अल्लाह इस चीज तो महरूम किता मैं नहीं देती, और उस चीज से खुश हो जाओ, राजी हो जाओ, इत्मीनान सुकून में हो जाओ, जला कुछ के अल्लाह देता हो, जिस हाल ने मिसे के अल्लाह रखा हुआ उस हाल ने पर तुसा राजी हो जाओ, और आखिर विच कि जड़ी चीज तुसा को छुटकी है, जड़ी तुसा की खसारा जिसना होया उसकी तुसने पर तुसा सब्र करो. ए त्रै चीज़ां जरा नहीं मिलिया उस ने पर राजी, जरा मिलिया उसने पर राजी, जरा हाल उसने पर राजी, तो जड़ी असा की नुकसान होया या कोई चीज अथू चली गई है उसने पर सब्र. ऐसी आखने तकवा. Now if we live our life according to this particular principle of Imam Qushayri and the definition, just being content with who you are, where you are, what you have, what you possess, and that just, majority of the mental health problems that we face in our community, majority of those problems, they will disappear. So if we're just happy with what we got, we wouldn't be so anxious and depressed all the time. We would have a smile on our face. We'd go around smiling and sharing smiles. The narration that I mentioned to you,
Goodness is being happy, spreading joy. Well, how can we spread joy and happiness when we're always anxious, we're always depressed regarding our own particular state of being? We're always chasing that which has been denied us. So this anxiety and depression that we go through in life can just be completely wiped away. And being in this state, this particular point, taqwa is a zone. When you're in that zone, then you are in complete peace and tranquility with your surroundings. You are completely at ease, and you are, if we actually take this particular goal, we take this particular, what I would call robe, beautiful robe of taqwa, and we wear it. We wear it really, properly wear it. If you actually wear this robe, then we will be the coolest people in the room. We will be the coolest people, meaning that everyone else will be like on edge. Everyone else will be like thinking, oh, what's he thinking? What's she thinking? What is he wearing? What she's wearing? But if you are a person of piety, internal piety, then you are completely calm without a care in the world. So you want to be the coolest guy in the room? Be pious, have taqwa in your heart. I keep mentioning this again and again. It does not mean taqwa is not the length of your beard. It is the depth of your heart. Taqwa is not the shortness of your jubbah. It is not the uncovering of the ankles, but the covering of the eyes. This is what piety really is. Piety, it is not looking into the lives of other people. Piety is looking into our own chest, into our own heart. And if we all did this, we would be a million miles away from the sorry, despicable state we find ourselves in. And I mean this on a personal level, in terms of personally, and on a global level as Muslims. We find ourselves in this pitiful state. Now, this narration that I read to you about not spying on your brother, not saying anything bad about him, being mindful of his honor. Why does the Prophet mention taqwa in the middle of this? So the narration is about brotherhood. Why is he talking about taqwa? Why in the middle of the Prophet saying that taqwa happened? Taqwa is near. Where? Why? Because the Prophet knows his nation, he knows his people. He knows them better than they know themselves. So he knows that when, later on down the generations, there will be a people who will do all these things and look down on others, thinking that they are more pious than the next man. They are better than the next man. They are more, pure than the next girl. This is what the Prophet was telling us to guard against. Piety is serenity of the heart. How we are within ourselves. Taqwa is how you are in your own skin. Whether you are in agitation or whether you are at peace. Being a person of piety, you are scrupulous, you pay attention to detail. What you do, what you say, how you say it, what you wear, how you wear it, what you eat, how you eat it. This encompasses your entire characteristic of who you are. Our pious ancestors, how did they live taqwa? उन्हें के जरा ना तकवा इसकी नहीं आने कि तुसानी नमाज कितनी लंबी है, तकवा ये नहीं कि तुसानी दाढ़ी कितनी लंबी है, जुल्फा मेरी लंबी है ना, इसकी तकवा नहीं आ रही। ईमान जो है, ईमान की अलामत ना दाढ़ी है, ना बाल है, ना जुबा है, ना कपड़े। तकवे ना जरा ताल्लुक है ना वो दिल ना है, दिल का क्या हाल है। जाहिरी हुस्न और जीनत की ऐसा तवज्जो दे बस। हाँ जी, जो शलवार इस पर नहीं रोकी हुई है, पर शलवार रोकने ना जरा है ना, तकवा बंदा मुत्तकी नहीं होगा। लंबे लंबे सजदे करने वाला बंदा मुत्तकी नहीं होगा। हाँ, रात अंधेरे ने विच कार कलियां बैठे हुए हो, वो जो लंबे सजदे ना वो तकवे वाले होने। मसीती ने जो लंबे सजदे ना जरूरी नहीं कि तकवे वाले हैं। Taqwa, piety is demonstrated if you look at our previous generations, especially our pious ancestors. And after I've told you a few stories, you will be able to work out what I'm talking about. Abu Yazid Bastami radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he's our grandmaster, he's like, great pillars. He's one of the great pillars of our spiritual heritage, our spiritual tradition. And he was the epitome of piety, personal piety, internal piety. He was in a zone, he was always in the zone. How was he in the zone? Hazrat Abu Yazid Bastami, he bought some oaks. Okay? So he bought some oaks in Hamdan. And he obviously used them while he was there. He had his breakfast there. And then he went back to his village, his town. And when he opened his sack of oats that he had bought, and some of them were left, he found some ants inside the bag. This is what piety really is. So he saw those ants and he thought, where did these ants come from? He realized these ants must have crawled into this bag when I was in Hamdan, which wasn't, it's not down the road. It's a fair distance away. So he thought these ants are far away from their nest. It's because of me that they have missing their family. So without any further delay, he got up again and he walked all the way back to Hamdan, where he bought the oats from, in the place that he stayed. And he took the ants out and he left them there. Now, which fiqh book tells you to do this? Which Aqidah book has this written in there? There is no fiqh book for this. It's a state of being. On another occasion, as by Yazid, he washes his jubba in the river and he needs to dry it. Those days people used to have 10, 20, 30 or 50 pairs of clothes. It was just what was on their back. So he needed to dry it in order to wear it again. And his friend said to him, there's this wall here, let's just hang it there. Put a peg in there. He said, no, how can I put a peg into a wall that belongs to someone else? No, we're not drying it against that wall. Then his friend said that put it on the tree, hang it on the tree. And the Sheikh said, the branches might break. And then he was told, put it on the grass on the floor so the sun will dry it. He said, no, the animals might want that grass, and I want to eat that grass, and it will cause them difficulty. And then he sat down in the sun, and he put the soap on his back, dried one side, and then after a while turned it around and dried the other side. This is when you are in the zone. That you do not wish to take anything from anyone or harm anything. even the smallest of God's creatures, you do not wish harm upon them. This is piety. This is taqwa. Sayyiduna Ibrahim ibn Adam, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he is another paragon of piety. He is an example. He is what you would say, the shining star of what it means to be a person of taqwa. And when you get to a certain point in this journey, then it is not just you who protects yourself against doing anything that might be ethically wrong. There are things which are lawfully wrong, haram. Taqwa is beyond that. Taqwa is you're not doing anything which is ethically wrong. What does that mean? For example, say if you went to a jeweler's shop, taqwa किसकी हाल है? तो जाने हो, हाँ जी, आंटी और जाने सुनियारे को, सुनियारे कितने छाप, सुनियारा आना कि यार ना असली सोना नहीं है, ये 18 या 16 ना सोना है, ना गया ना, खालिस सोना नहीं है, तो सुना वो बगा कितने हो, इस्तेमाल करने हो, फिर जब आप सुना वो बेचने चाहने हो मुझे तो दुबई से नहरे को जाने हो, वो वाना के ये 22 कैरेट है तो भैया नंबर ना कराया, सुना तो उसकी 18-16 समझे से, बंदा चला ना वासी हमारी तो ईद हुई ना, हैं जी, हमारी तो ईद हुई, कि जितने ना किराया सब तो दुगना तिगना मुझे लग सकता, लेकिन जब तकवे ना बंदा है ना, जिन्हें माय तकवे लिया, जिन्हें अंटी तकवे लिया, जिन्हें दिले तकवा होना, वो मुझे तो उस सिनेरियो को जाने, जिन्हें को किराया समझे, जितना भी अरसा गुजरिया, उसकी बाने भैया कि तू मेरी जरा देता सी ना ऐसा समझीदा इसने कीमत ज़्यादा से जरा फर्क है मालूम चाहिए ऐस की आपने तक एक उसको है एक खजाना काट बंदे की तरह so Sayyidina Ibrahim bin Adam radiyallahu ta'ala he got to a point of piety in which he was so close to his Lord that even Allah did not wish him to be soiled with anything that was not 110% beautiful. So this is Allah was protecting him. So what happens? Sayyidina Ibrahim and the other, they are resting in Jerusalem. He said, I was resting in Jerusalem, outside Jerusalem, under a rock, I was sleeping. And 2 angels came. They started talking to themselves. And one said to the other, who's this sleeping under the rock? The angel replied, this is Ibrahim bin Adam, who today has been lowered in his station, in his maqam, in front of his Lord. Allah has lowered his station. So he's lost 1 ranking today. The other angel asked him, how did that happen? How was that possible? What did he do wrong? He tells him that when he was in Basra, which is like 1,000 miles away, well, just under 1,000. So when he was in Basra, he bought some dates. And when he bought those dates, a date fell into his bag from the shopkeeper that didn't belong to him. And he didn't return it. He carried on. And because of that particular moment of unawareness, because he wasn't scrupulous in that transaction, it wasn't his fault really. Allah has lowered his rank. And Ibrahim, Adam said, I woke up suddenly, got up from there, walked all the way back to Basra, which is like 20-day journey at that time, 20 days, 30 days, a month it would take on foot, depending on the situation. He went all the way back to that particular merchant who sold him the dates. And when he bought some extra dates from that man that day, he did the opposite. He let one date fall from his bag back into the shopkeeper's store. And he returned back to Jerusalem. And he says, when I fell asleep again, the same two angels came and they started talking again. He said, who is this sleeping here today? And this is Ibrahim and Adam. He is the fortunate one, not the unfortunate one. He is the fortunate one who Allah is pleased with and who Allah has raised by a degree. This is what piety really is. This is what piety is, not ticking boxes, of exercises in books. I did this, I did that, I did this. It's how you are within yourself. A pious lady once, she said to her servant, Khadim, go and get some firewood. When he came back, she said to him, where did you get this from? Because where you got it from, the neighbors, they collect firewood in the same place. Upstairs, their firewood is nearby. He said, and he assured her that I only took what was ours. Something simple as firewood, using to cook food. Who's going to notice a few branches of trees that you've taken? No one's going to notice that. But being in piety, being a person of taqwa, is that you will know. That's what it really boils down to. Piety is what you know. Piety is how you are. Now, it's all very well, okay, you've given us a great speech or a great talk about piety. I'm just a normal guy. How do I get to that level? I can't get to that level of Zabai's Bastami or Ibrahim and Adam. Tell me what I can do. Well, we can make a start, especially in the month of Ramadan, the month of Taqwa. We can actually make a start in some very small place or very small acts that we can perform. So starting from a small place, going to a higher place. What's the most, what is the easiest thing to achieve? To get into that road. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that when you're passing by, or when a beautiful lady passes by, or we actually pass by a beautiful lady a few times just to admire Allah's beauty, as brothers said, then the first time that you see that, Allah will not ask you about that lady, looking at that person, the beauty of that person. If you did it again, then you are accountable for that. That is the lowest level of taqwa. It is your level of taqwa, piety, internal piety, that prevents you from looking the second time. That's the basic start. That's where we start from. No one's going to pull you up. How do people know that you've looked about 10 times? Nobody's going to know that. You've caught a few hidden glances here and there. Went to a shadi and, people wearing really beautiful clothes. Oh, I'm just admiring people's dressing and where they put their clothes from. No one's going to know you looked 50 times, will they? But you will know. When you're in the habit of looking 50 times, in Ramadan you look 40 times. If you're in the habit of looking 10 times, cut it down to 5. And if you're in the habit of looking twice, then if you're at the level 1, just looking once, then you are at that. You've reached the level, you've reached the goal. So taqwa doesn't mean that you start right at the top, you can start right at the bottom, the basic level. If you look at what I mentioned, what I'm going back to now at the beginning, where Imam Kushari have given this advice in their book, it is also important to notice the signs of piety as well. Not to be kind of taken in by false piety. Because there are a lot of charlatans out there. There's a lot of fakes out there that will draw you in with their charisma or with whatever. And then when you get to a certain point in your life with that person, then you find out things are not as they seem. So taqwa is not just being aware of what piety is for yourself to act upon it, but to be aware of it so that you're able to save yourself from falling into traps with people, for giving people more than their worth or what they actually do. This is why you see a lot of, especially within Muslim circles, you see a lot of these times that people coming up with stories, this person let me down, this person abused our relationship, or I saw him as this and he ended up being like this. It's because we're not really looking at, we're not measuring people against what taqwa is. If we hold the bar of taqwa and this person falls within this criteria, using the judgment, not from our own personal judgment, but what the manuscripts, the manuals that have been left, the user manual that has been left for us by previous generations, using their wise user manuals, we look at this person and say, okay, this person is someone I can learn from, I can follow, I can benefit from. So use this mirror of taqwa, this light of taqwa, to see and to know whether people are worthy to be followed. This is a big trap people are falling in. Another thing that we could do in Ramadan, just to get on the ladder of taqwa, is to be mindful of what we say, to be mindful of our speech. It's a simple thing to do. One is not backbiting, one is not talking about people, but on the basic level of just speaking using normal words, not using foul language. If we're in the habit of, every sentence has to have the word F in it. And some people are like that. Some of us, we have that weakness because of what we listen to. What we listen to 11 months of the year, that rubbish that we listen to, it has an effect on the way we speak. So the basic level could be, okay, let's go through this whole month without using any bad language. If I use it so many times, I use it less and less. That's the basic level. When you get to the point where even in anger, you don't use bad language. That is a higher point. That could be the end target of the month. That, by the end of the month, when I'm angry, I'm just going to bite my tongue rather than lashing out. That is trying to climb that ladder of taqwa. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us and open for us this door of piety, this condition, this state, that in reality will not be something that we should rely on for being saved, because being saved is from Allah. But at least in this particular plane on earth, we will have a more peaceful life. We will be less anxious about what people are doing, how people are seeing us. What am I doing? What have I done wrong? So we will be content within ourselves. And this is the greatest treasure from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Being at peace within your own skin. Being at ease within your own skin. And only when you achieve a level of piety can you be at ease with your own self. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. May He bless you all. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us in these times of difficulty. Amin Allah tawfiq wa astaghfirullah azim.